Hey guys, welcome to MiM Monday. I'm your host, Nick Lazaga, and it's time to make Mondays magical. Well, to make today, this Monday, magical. Welcome to the show, everybody. If you're watching this as a playback on YouTube or on Instagram as a reel, just know that you could join in the conversation every Monday at 8 o'clock. We're going to talk Disney news, and I want to chat with you guys about this Disney news. And if you're joining me right now in the chat, what's going on, everybody? Welcome in. Welcome in. A few of you are just getting in. Let's talk about Disney news together, guys. This is Mickey in Minutes live. Let's do this. Let's get it going. So we're gonna start right off the bat talking about some Walt Disney World stuff. I want to talk about Test Track, guys. We are so close to the reopening of Test Track 3.0. You guys excited for that? If you're excited for Test Track to reopen, drop a car emoji in the chat, and let's talk about this. The opening date for Test Track is July 22nd, guys. July 22nd. That's just under a month away. That's a month from yesterday, right? Today's the 23rd. So, yeah. There's going to be some previews beforehand. If you're a cast member, you're probably going to get a preview, and other people as well. Annual pass holder probably. But let's talk about what's going on with Test Track. It's been closed for about a year now, and it's finally going to come back July 22nd with an all new musical score, a whole new storyline, which is going to be supposedly loosely based on World of Motion. Any classic Epcot fans in here? World of Motion. So according to Disney Parks blog, this attraction is going to be a reminder of what the road trip is all about. It's going to be about embracing the world around you while spending quality time in the company of friends and family. That's from the official Disney Parks blog description of the new Test Track. And they're also, like they said, it's all new. So they're going to be showcasing new technology. What they actually said on Disney Parks blog is that they're going to be highlighting the technology that makes our cars smarter and our lives more fun. So let's break this down for a minute, because originally we had, excited for Test Track 3.0. Yeah. Originally we had World of Motion, and World of Motion was, more of a slow-moving dark ride through the history of cars, right, of vehicles. And it was really cool. A lot of animatronics, kind of like a Spaceship Earth, but about transportation instead of communication. And so then after that, in the 90s, we got original Test Track, and that was themed to road testing a vehicle, right? It was like crash test dummies. I remember that so well from when I was a kid. I think I was about maybe 10 years old when that version of Test Track opened, and I loved it. One of my school pictures back in elementary school, my official school picture, I was wearing a Test Track shirt because I had to wear it. But that was a Test Track dummy one, the test dummy one, right? And it was really cool. It really felt like you were in the vehicle while it was being crash tested. After that, they brought in 2.0, which was the one that we most recently know. It was very Tron-esque, right? Before they brought any Tron attractions to the United States. And it was the one where you designed your own vehicle and you tested it in a digital scape, right? So it felt like a digital world. You're bringing back so many memories. Old Test Track. Yeah, right? The Test Track dummies. It was all yellow and black. Oh, it was so cool. I still remember on the Disney News Today station in the resort when they would show the Test Track footage, getting you all hyped, for your must-dos. And it's in my brain. And the old music, so good. But 2.0, so you designed your own vehicle and you went into this digital world, and it was all blue and black and very bright, colorful, and it was cool, I guess. Anybody like 2.0? The hot and cold chambers. Yes, I remember the hot and cold chambers. That was so awesome. Gosh, original Test Track was so cool. Now we're getting this 3.0, and we've been looking at this one concept art for a year, where it's showing the black car going through a forest, right? We've been staring at that one concept art for so long. And we're just finally getting some more information. Hey, welcome in, guys. So there was this scene that the Imagineering showcased on like Instagram and on the Disney Parks blog, like a little video of some Imagineers standing in the ride, and they turned on over 29,000 points of light. And this is so cool because what this is showing you is how the cars see the world, right? So how a digital vehicle looks at the world around it, right? It doesn't see it the way that we humans do. It sees it in more of a, I don't know, computerized way, I guess. But they had this scene where it kind of reminded me of Test Track 2.0 with like all the lights going, and it was really cool because like they said, it's going to be showcasing technology, and it's that scene in particular you're going to be seeing the through the eyes of the vehicle. But then they also talked about how it's going to be exploring the road trip, right? So those two things make me think it's going to be a combination of Test Track, where we're seeing how cars, get tested and all that kind of stuff, and World of Motion, where we're going to be learning, right? World of Motion also had that theme song, "Fun to Be Free." Do you guys remember this? Let's speculate on how it will feel like World of Motion. So it has the song "Fun to Be Free" in the original World of Motion, right? You guys remember that? Wonderful song. It's still on my Disney rotation when I listen to Disney music. And that was kind of talking about how transportation allowed us to be more free, more mobile, right? And if they're talking about the American road trip in their blurb on Disney Parks blog, I'm thinking that's going to be one of the connections to World of Motion. And also more of a connection to how old Epcot was very edutainment, right? Where they focused on teaching you. I think we're going to see a little bit about how vehicles have changed our lives as people in the road trip aspect and the technology, how the cars work, right? I mean, it's hard to speculate. We don't really know that much, but if you look on Disney Parks blog, there's that video that that just showed how it's going to look. So I'm really excited. I'm going to be going to Walt Disney World in September, so I'll be able to ride Test Track then, and I can't wait to experience it. Chime in the chat. How do you guys think this is going to be tied to World of Motion? Do you think they're going to play the song in there? One thing I really liked about when Guardians of the Galaxy took over, the Energy Pavilion, they played the Universe of Energy song very subtly in the beginning of the ride. When Peter Quill is like, "You're not going to keep rock and roll from existing," and you hear that guitar riff going, that's the old song from Universe of Energy. So I'm wondering how they're going to be incorporating music, because if they mention World of Motion to us Disney fans, we're all thinking, ooh, we need the song. We need Fun to Be Free. So I'm betting that's going to be a big part of how they bring World of Motion into Test Track. But again, I guess we gotta wait and see. It's almost there, less than a month away, and I'm very excited. The other thing that they said is that we're gonna have a new musical score, right? So I'm guessing, hints of Fun to Be Free, but something new, something exciting, something energetic. I keep thinking back to the original Test Track music where it was like very mechanical, and you could almost hear like tools hitting each other and hitting the ground, right? You hear drill bits and stuff. That was cool and original. Very 90s, right? I'm wondering how this is going to be. And I like that they're leaning into some old classic Epcot. So, yeah. Let's see. The Park Bros. I think it will be the song similar to the new Paint the Night. So something like electronic, like very upbeat electronic kind of music. Yeah, I can see that. That's cool. I'm kind of hoping we get like a song, like an actual theme song with words. Old Epcot, we had so many of these songs, like Tomorrow's Child from Spaceship Earth, Fun to Be Free, Listen to the Land, Universe of Energy, all these songs with lyrics, like an actual theme song. That's what I'm kind of hoping for. Something, I know it's kind of cheesy, kind of campy, But I like that, right? That's what made original Epcot so good, was its kind of cheesy campiness. Can you tell I'm excited about Test Track? It's going to be awesome. Let's move on. Let's stick with Disney World news, and let's talk about Disney Starlight Dream the Night Away. Something else that I'm really looking forward to seeing on my September Walt Disney World trip. And yeah, so we got an opening date for Disney Starlight Dream the Night Away. It's going to begin on July 20th. And we just got so much news on this that I just want to dive into. So, show times, 9 p.m. and 11 p.m. And here's the interesting thing. It's going to begin on Main Street and end in Frontierland. Right? If you know about the parades in Magic Kingdom, this is backwards, right? It's going the other way. In the new hold on, read some comments. In New Paint the Night, they play the Baroque Hoedown from the Electrical Parade, subtly played through. Oh, I love that. Cool. So you mean like a nod. I'm going to Disneyland in just a couple weeks, like 3 weeks. And I saw Paint the Night back in its original run for the 60th. I haven't seen it since. But that's awesome that they're doing a nod to that. And actually, keep that in mind. We're going to talk about music cues in Starlight in just a second, and what your comment is going to play into that. So, this is going to be going backwards, right? I mean, the floats aren't going in reverse. The track, the route, there we go, is backwards from what we're used to. It's starting on Main Street and ending in Frontierland, and Disney is saying that the reason for that is crowd flow, which is great, because you think about it, you have to leave through the front of the park, so being able to kind of start in the front is going to let those people say, all right, the parade's over, and start leaving, while the people in the back of the park are still enjoying the parade, and that should funnel out the people at the end of the night, I guess after the 11 o'clock showing, out of the park. So this is smart, and it makes me wonder, why haven't they done this before? It just makes so much sense. I mean, I guess it really doesn't matter for a daytime parade, and Walt Disney World hasn't had a nighttime parade at Magic Kingdom in forever, But let's keep going through this. Let's see. The parade is not going to run on Not So Scary nights. So those of you who are looking forward to Not So Scary Halloween Party, Boo to You Parade, that's still happening. Those nights are going to get a break from Disney Starlight. But something really cool. If you know me, I love artwork. I love seeing concept art, and I love poster art. All around my house, I have attraction posters, which, like, I'm sure many of you watching this have those too. But they released the official attraction poster for this. They're saying it's the one that's going to be featured in the train station, when you enter Magic Kingdom, and it looks really cool. If you haven't seen it yet, go to Disney Parks blog when you get a chance and take a look at it. The official parade name is Disney Starlight Dream the Night Away, and it has a cool, like, drawn art style of characters. It features the Blue Fairy over Cinderella Castle. You have Peter Pan and Wendy. You have Moana. You have Miguel from Coco. You have Dancing with Her Prince. You have Elsa. And they're all on this, like, winding path going up the poster of magic. And that's actually the theme of the parade, is that the Blue Fairy is granting wishes for all of these characters in the parade, and all the parade floats are being guided and connected by the Blue Fairy's magic. And it's just, the way it's illustrated on this poster, official attraction poster, is beautiful. And so what they're describing this is, when there was a video and a Disney Parks blog post where they were talking about this, and the Imagineers said that when designing the floats, they designed them as dreamscapes of light. Dreamscapes of Light. Which, that in itself sounds like it could be a parade title, right? But what they're saying, instead of designing a landscape where all these characters are standing on, they're designing them as dreamscapes. So they have cues of their movies, right? Things that you'd recognize, but in like more of a dreamlike way, right? So I think about the Encanto float. It has an oversized candle. Obviously it's not accurate to the movie, but it's more of like a dream world of it, right? Where it's this oversized, beautiful, magical candle. And they're using points of light, which I need to point out that they use that same phrase when talking about Test Track, points of light. So that's their new thing. Points of light, as well as LED panels along the floats to make them shine and sparkle, right? So it sounds like they're kind of getting away from the old school Main Street Electrical Parade kind of thing of the actual light bulbs, right? So they're leaning more into LED screens, which, that's great. That's fine. They can do a lot with that. And these points of light are going to be guiding the Blue Fairies light throughout the parade. The parade is going to be awesome, not only because it's been so long, but they're setting the stage for a beautiful parade. They absolutely are. They really, really are. And so one of the things that I think is going to make this parade so, so good is original music. And actually, to be more specific, orchestral music. So I hear that the parade's going to have orchestral music, and the first thing I think of as, a 90s kid is SpectroMagic, right? SpectroMagic had the most beautiful score. If you never saw SpectroMagic, look it up on YouTube. It's gorgeous. It's just tons of white lights. Everything is just bright white and the most beautiful score. And they should do a villain float. So I don't think a villain float would work with the theme of this parade, right? And I think they're kind of saving that for like a Boo to You parade and stuff like that. With the theme of this parade being wishes coming true, that doesn't really mesh with the villain thing. But if you like villain floats, check out Boo to You parade. Great villain floats there. Haunted Mansion float is really cool. But yeah, so this new parade is going to have a new orchestral score. The show director named Tara Anderson, she's quoted in saying, "You've got to hear." Oh, was it? You've got to hear music to have a great experience, right? I read that wrong. You've got to have great music to have a great experience. That's what she said. And I agree with that. Music really makes it. And so I have a prediction, right? Because later on in their Disney Parks blog article, they said that part of the essence of this parade is going to be the nostalgia of nighttime spectaculars. And so they actually have several members of teams that worked on SpectroMagic and the Main Street Electrical Parade on the team for this. And so they also said that there's going to be Disney park favorites woven into the score. So like we were talking about a little bit ago with like wanting fun to be free and being in Test Track, and you mentioned that the Paint the Night Parade has some Main Street Electrical music cues in it. I think they're going to do that same thing here. And I'm predicting SpectroMagic music. I'm predicting Main Street Electrical Parade music. So like more of a orchestral version of the Baroque Hoedown. But I'm also predicting Wishes. I'm predicting that we're finally going to hear a reprise of Wishes. So if you don't know, Wishes was the nighttime fireworks show we had at Magic Kingdom, way before Happily Ever After and stuff, way before the projection mapping on the castle and all that stuff. We had Wishes, and it was such a beautiful show. It was hosted by Jiminy Cricket, and has this just iconic intro, where it says, "Starlight, star bright, first star I see tonight. Wish I may, wish I might." Right, that whole thing, and I am willing to bet that this parade begins with that. I could be wrong, but I'm betting that the intro of the parade is the intro to Wishes in some way. Maybe not the words, but like the melody. And guys, I'm getting goosebumps just talking about that. If I could hear Wishes again, in the Disney World like show setting, oh my goodness, I have goosebumps now. Let's see, one of the best shows. Going to definitely watch it on the first night. I'll be streaming it first night. It's going to be crazy. So maybe I'm the crazy one. I'm going to stay as spoiler free as possible until I get there in September. And I know it's going to be really hard, being, a Disney podcaster and, doing the news every Monday and all that stuff. But I'm going to try really hard because this is something really special to me. I grew up on Spectro Magic. Obviously, Main Street Electrical Parade was very special to me as well. And I think this is just such a great step in the right direction for Disney parks. You think about some of the stuff they've been doing lately. We've had a lot of hit or miss stuff. And frankly, a lot of things that have made the Disney community kind of upset. Closing Muppet Vision for one. And I think giving the fans something that we've been asking for, a new nighttime parade at Magic Kingdom, and not just that, but with original music, it's so amazing. So the other thing they talked about were the dancers in between the floats. They're going to be dancing in dance styles appropriate to the films, that they're dancing behind. So that should be really interesting. Maybe we'll see some nice salsa dancing and stuff like that for the Mirabelle float. Some really cool stuff like that. But they also showed a concept art picture of the finale float. Guys, have you seen this? It's beautiful. And it's a call back to the Main Street Electrical Parade. So, if you don't want to hear the spoiler, if you haven't seen this yet, earmuffs, I guess. But we have Goofy driving the train. That is a beautiful callback to the Main Street Electrical Parade. And so he's in the front of the train. Behind him we have hey, what's going on, Tony? Welcome in. Behind him we have Pluto. Then we have Donald and Daisy. Then a little bit behind that we have a mine cart with Snow White and Dopey in it. Behind that we have the front of the boat with Flynn and Rapunzel in it. And then we have the magic carpet with Aladdin and Jasmine. And then the tail end of this is Mickey and Minnie in what looks to me like a sled, like a sleigh. And this is just so gorgeous. It looks amazing. Tony's everywhere. Yeah, Tony's everywhere. So yeah, guys, besides that, the merch for Disney Starlight, I love the logo. The logo for Disney Starlight kind of reminds me of the Spectro Magic logo with the very curvy script letters, and it looks great. We're getting lots of merch for that. What I want, I've been buying for a while now those Disney attraction poster calendars. Do you guys remember these? So they started these, I guess around maybe 2020, about 2018 maybe actually. And maybe every other year they would print a calendar with attraction posters. And over the years they've kind of gotten smaller. But some of the attraction posters I have around my house actually have come from those calendars. And, as far as merch goes, I want this poster. I think it's beautiful. So if they would print another attraction poster calendar with this in it, with the new Paint the Night poster in it, lots of other, cool stuff they can do. Yes, that's what I want as far as merch. Yeah. So what do you guys think of this? What do you guys think of the Magic Kingdom finally getting a new parade and that it's so soon? July 20th. July 20th, guys. I would love a Tower of Terror attraction poster. I used to have a Tower of Terror attraction poster, and it got lost/destroyed in one of my moves. But I do have an alternate version of the Tower of Terror attraction poster from one of those calendars. It's not the official one, but it's an official Disney one, but it's not the one that you're used to seeing. It's really cool. I always put it up around Halloween in my house. Thrilled about the new parade. Give people more things to do. Yeah, if you're one of the people who go to Disney often, once you see this parade, just think about, if it's running twice, 9 o'clock and 11 o'clock, those are going to be times where the lines for attractions are going to be super low, right? So you're going to have Happily Ever After running, and then you're going to have 2 parade times. All those people gathered in, on the parade route and in the hub is freeing up a lot of attraction wait times. So, you know, yeah, that's going to be really helpful for people who go there often. May you see it, please. It's actually put away right now. It goes up with my Halloween decor, but I'll be sure to post a picture of it once we get our Halloween stuff going in a couple months. Let's see. Other news: Disney Springs Flavor of Florida returns June 27th, in just a few days, through August 10th. There's over 40 participating locations at Disney Springs. And what I think is cool about this is you get chefs from these Disney Springs restaurants doing demonstrations on select Fridays. So that means, we can get like Chef Art Smith from Homecoming. We could get, oh my goodness, what's his name? The guy with the spiky blonde hair from Chicken Guy. It'll come to me. That guy. Excuse me. But one thing I think is pretty cool, they specifically said cocktail making at the Edison. I'm a big fan of cocktails. I love a good old fashioned, I love a good, well-crafted cocktail. So I think that's really cool that you'd be able to do cocktail making at the Edison. I think the Edison is really cool. Guy Fieri. Yes, that's his name. Thank you. Cocktail making at the Edison. I think it'd be really cool. If you've ever been to the Edison, it's very kind of steampunky themed. I liked it. I went there once, and honestly, my experience there was, I don't want to say ruined, but after a certain time, it kind of gets a nightclub vibe, and they pump up some loud contemporary music, and the vibe of the restaurant and is just completely destroyed at that point. So if you want to go and enjoy the actual vibes, you want to go before it turns into a 18 and older nightclub or whatever. But that's cool. They're also going to do paella making at Jaleo. My dad makes the best paella, so if I want to learn, I'll just learn from him. But yeah, check out Disney Parks blog for more information on that. And the next story is, you might think it's kind of a random one, but I think it's interesting. So the turnstile at the People Mover in Magic Kingdom is gone. The old turnstile that you have to push? That's gone. They took it out. And that was actually an original structure, an original piece of the park from 1971, and it's gone. So it's just, if you're looking at it from the idea that a remnant of original Magic Kingdom has gone away, it might seem silly because it's turnstile, but it's true. But, we don't really need turnstiles. I'm sure they're going to have some sort of digital way to count people. Right now they have a cast member with a clicker. But I thought it was interesting. Last Disney World story, new paint job on Big Thunder Mountain ride vehicles. Did you guys see this? So, we all know the ride vehicles on Big Thunder Mountain are orange, right? Now they're brown. They're real a darker shade of brown. And they've lost that orangey color that I think is so iconic. I'm not going to be the guy being oh, they got rid of a turnstile and they're changing the paint color of a ride vehicle. But I kind of am. It looks cool. We'll get used to it. It's just a darker paint color. But for me, I think of Big Thunder Mountain. I think of those orange mine carts, essentially, right? They're iconic. Whatever. It's such a little thing. It is what it is. We'll get used to it. Let's move on to Disneyland, guys. Disneyland news. I'm wearing my Disneyland 70th hat. And so the big news is Halloween stuff. Which, by the way, I didn't do a MiM Monday last week because it was my wife and I's our anniversary. So on Monday, so we didn't do a MiM Monday. So if you're thinking, oh, that's old news, I remember that from last week. It's because I'm making up for 2 weeks worth of news. But Halloween news. So what I think is interesting is that the 70th offerings at Disneyland are still going to be going on during the fall. So a lot of the decorations for the 70th are still going to be up. Hey, thanks so much, Tony. Yeah, they changed the car color of Big Thunder Mountain. So 70th offerings still going to be up in a lot of Disneyland. A lot of decorations are probably still going to be up. I think they're going to put the big pumpkin up, so don't worry about that. The big photo op pumpkin at the beginning of Main Street is still going to be there, but we're going to simultaneously having Halloween season and 70th. You're still going to get Paint the Night. You're still going to get World of Color Happiness. You're still going to get Tapestry of Happiness. All the interactive stuff is still going to be there. So if you're going in the fall and you just want to experience Disneyland's 70th, you're in luck. That stuff's still going to be there. The key activity is still going to be there. The Magic Band activity, which, by the way, I just got my Magic Band in the mail. I posted this the other day. I'm so excited. I don't know if Disneyland people are big Magic Band people. I've kind of debated this on the show before. A lot of Disneyland people say they don't like them. But I'm a Disney World guy. I have tons of Magic Bands, so I was stoked to get this. Not to mention the fact that it's going to be part of an interactive game. Well, not really a game. A thing at Disneyland where you're going to scan your Magic Band and get like a cool card, collectible keepsake. So I got my Magic Band. That stuff's still going to be happening during the Halloween season. But Oogie Boogie Bash dates were also announced. So I know there's a lot of Oogie Boogie people out there. So it should be running on select dates between August 22nd and October 31st. That's the Halloween season at Disneyland. And guys, Oogie Boogie sells out so fast. So listen to this next part. Pre-sale for Inspire key holders, June 24th. Pre-sale for other key holders, June 25th, and then public sale June 26th. So key holders, especially you Inspire key holders, you have a huge advantage. And those of you who are not key holders, if you're traveling to Disneyland just to experience some Halloween stuff, Oogie Boogie Bash in particular, you need to get on this. So it's 9 p.m. California time, 9 a.m. not p.m. a.m. California time. You can buy tickets for Oogie Boogie. Good luck, right? I hope that if you want to go, that you get them. Here's something that I thought was really cool, is that the Halloween costumes for the characters at Disneyland during that season are going to be a twist on their 70th outfits. So like I mentioned, they're still going to be doing a lot of 70th stuff during the Halloween season. This is one of those things. So their 70th outfits right now, they're like, they have the colors of this hat. So like the purples and the blues and pinks. That's how they are right now. They're going to be replacing those colors with greens and purples and oranges for Halloween colors. But I think it's really cool that they're going to still essentially be their 70th outfits. They're kind of merging the two celebrations. And I think that's genius because, 70th anniversary is a big deal. I'm glad it's getting, the love that it's getting. And, some people aren't Halloween people. And some people want to go and experience the 70th. So to be able to have both and kind of satisfy both people, I think it's great. Halloween season at Disneyland, you're still going to get Haunted Mansion Holiday, which I'll be honest, you could take my Disney fan card. I've never seen Haunted Mansion Holiday. Every time I go to Disneyland, it's never in the fall. So I keep missing Haunted Mansion Holiday. I'm going to Disneyland in just a couple weeks, so I'll be missing Haunted Mansion Holiday again. But eventually I will see it. And if you go, you will be able to see it also. So, yeah. Speaking of 70th, merch has dropped on Shop Disney. I know a lot of people, my wife especially, just goes crazy for Disney merch. I do too. But she's, always the person who's on the pulse of that Disney park, Disney, what's it called? Shop Disney, not Shop Disney, Disney Store. The Disney Store app, right? He always knows when things drop. And so a lot of 70th merch dropped, particularly something called the Vault Collection. Guys, this is awesome. So, if you were a Disney fan during Walt Disney World's 50th anniversary a few years ago, you know all about the Vault Collection. In my opinion, that was the best line that they did of merch for the celebration. And what they do for that is they get old designs from the vault of, the park's history, and they just reprint them. So like some of the merch that I got from the Disney World 50th were like reprints of old designs. And So the Vault collection for the 70th is old Disneyland designs, and there's some really, really cool stuff on there. I'm a huge fan of maps. You can't see it's out of frame, but I have a big Disneyland map in the back of my studio here. I love maps. And so I also love button downs. So they have a nice like Disneyland map button down, which, I'm going to get my hands on that. They also have a Disneyland map throw blanket. Little secret, I'm actually always sitting when I'm at my desk. I always have a blanket on because, it's comfortable. But yeah, I might have to get that throw blanket. I might have to change. This is a Pluto blanket that I always use. I might have to trade that for a Disneyland map blanket. I have a Haunted Mansion blanket on my couch. So yeah, really cool stuff. Go online, look up the Vault collection for the 70th. My wife also really likes what's called the Castle collection. We just got a really cool mug. It has like a cool cool artwork of Sleeping Beauty Castle in the art style of Sleeping Beauty. So it has like the trees with the square, kind of like the Paris one, and it just looks gorgeous. But it's a great call to the Sleeping Beauty movie. So yeah, lots of really great merch items. So before I get away from parks, I want to talk about some film news, some movie news. Before I do that, I just want to talk about really quick. I want to go through a list of closed attractions at the parks in case you're planning on visiting Walt Disney World or Disneyland Resort during June and July, which I'll be in Disneyland in July, so a couple of these really hurt me. But Disney World. So Astro Orbiter, it's getting this whole big refurb. It looks like it's still going to be closed for a while. I'm seeing through August. Big Thunder Mountain Railroad, obviously closed until 2026. Hall of Presidents, still closed. Looks like it may reopen in August. I have no idea what they're doing in the Hall of Presidents. Only time will tell if they're going to, change up the show completely, or I don't know. I wonder what they're doing. Usually they put the sitting president in the front. There's a lot of controversy around, just politics and everything in general. I think, whatever they can do with that attraction to make people happy, that's what they should do. And, I don't want to say get rid of Hall of Presidents because that was one of those things that was Walt Disney's dream. He ended up getting great moments with Mr. Lincoln because the technology was not there to have that many animatronics on stage at once. I mean, Mr. Lincoln hardly worked when it first opened. But, so that's one of those things that Walt really wanted, and Roy made it happen, and it's part of the DNA of Magic Kingdom. So, but, I don't know. I've been saying this for a while. I think they should do a show in there with the Muppets, right? So, like, Muppets Hall of Presidents, and we can do like Muppety satire and just have fun. We could even call it like what they used to call the Muppet Show they had in Magic Kingdom, great moments in history with the Muppets. If we can do that, and just kind of get away from the controversy and just have fun with the Muppets. Can you tell that I'm still heartbroken about Muppet Vision 3D? That still hurts. But yeah. Anyways, that's what I want. And then, of course, we talked about Test Track, still closed, but opening July 22nd. Now, Disneyland. I'm going to Disneyland in a couple weeks. The Matterhorn. Matterhorn's going to be closed. So classic. Incredicoaster. Matterhorn closed June and July, it looks like. We don't have an opening day in sight for Matterhorn. Incredicoaster, we don't have a reopening date for Incredicoaster, but that's going to be closing on July 28th. Enchanted Tiki Room. Luckily, this one reopens July 3rd. I'm very excited. Tangaroa, the tree is back, and, it's all working again, so I'm excited to see that again. Great moments with Mr. Lincoln. Actually, the Walt Disney attraction, the Walt Disney animatronic, that reopens July 18th, so I'm really excited for that. You're actually not going to be able to see Lincoln for a while, at least through the end of the 70th. It will just be the Walt Disney animatronic. And so that... Hey, welcome in. The person designing the Matterhorn realized they need to learn trigonometry. That's funny. Yeah, they when the Matterhorn first opened, it was duct tape and wood planks, it seems like. Actually, it was the first steel tubular roller coaster, excuse me, ever. But the mountain itself was basically like, it feels like they went to Home Depot and bought a bunch of wood and painted it. I'm kidding, obviously. It's beautiful. It's always been beautiful. But yes. First steel tubular roller coaster. That's very cool. Anyways, Star Tours. Looks like Star Tours is closing June 30th. Pixar Pal Around is closed from July 14th to July 25th. Redwood Creek Challenge Trail closed July 21st. No reopening date in sight for that. Casey Jr. Circus Train, that one's also closed July 28th through, I don't know. But yeah, so if you're going to Disneyland in July, like me, Matterhorn, Incredicoaster, Pixar Pal Around, Casey Jr., Star Tours, a lot of stuff closed. But that's okay. It's okay. Just go again. Right? Us Disney adults, right? Just go again. So let's talk about films. Elio. Is it Elio? 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 I don't know. I haven't seen it yet. And apparently a lot of people haven't seen it yet either. Elio had the worst opening weekend ever for any Pixar film ever. You guys believe that? That's crazy. Here's what I think. I haven't seen the movie yet, so I don't know. But for me, as a Disney fan, someone who sees most Disney movies in theaters, it didn't look very good. It didn't look very interesting. Also, it was in theaters at the same time as Lilo and Stitch and How to Train Your Dragon. And I know Stitch is, maybe nearing the end of its run, but How to Train Your Dragon was in week 2. And I will tell you, a couple days ago, my wife and I went to the movies, and we decided to see How to Train Your Dragon instead of Elio. Because my wife is a lifelong How to Train Your Dragon fan, and I also love those films. And I feel like it wasn't promoted enough. Yeah, that's probably a big problem with it too. But let me just say, How to Train Your Dragon, the live action remake, that is a masterclass in how to do a live action remake. Like I don't know if you saw my post on Instagram on Nick and Minutes. I put Disney, take notes. Watch How to Train Your Dragon and take notes, because that's how you do a live action remake of an animated film. And actually, the director of How to Train Your Dragon, who's the same director of the animated film, which I think is also a big part of it, he came out and said, this is DreamWorks' first live action remake. And he said something along the lines, I'm paraphrasing here, of we saw live action remakes coming out for the last decade, and we saw, how people responded and what people liked and didn't like, and, we waited. And I think that was the strategy, right? They didn't jump on the train, the bandwagon of, let's remake all of our films too. They waited, and they made a really good movie. And I'm not going to spoil How to Train Your Dragon for you, but if you've seen the animation, you've essentially seen this one. It's basically a shot-for-shot remake with some very subtle changes, but all the changes were fine. There weren't even that many, but again, it was mostly shot-for-shot, and it looked beautiful. It felt amazing. The casting was spot on. It was beautiful, spectacular. As far as live-action remakes go, this is my favorite. I'm not gonna lie. It beat out all the Disney ones for me. My favorite Disney one, I go back and forth between Aladdin and Cinderella. But yeah, let's see. Part of Monica's World has chimed in. She says, I feel like with the FanFest events, Epic Universe, and now the movie, Universal is schooling Disney on quite a few things. Yeah, I haven't been to Epic Universe yet. I've said my piece as a bystander, I guess, already many, many times on Epic Universe. But I've also talked to a lot of people about it. And remaining anonymous, I've talked to people close to me who are not Disney influencers, who don't have a podcast or a YouTube channel or any of that stuff, right? Just casual fans. And people who identify as Universal fans more so than anything else. And they went to Epic for the first time, and they had a terrible time. And, there are people who self-identify as Universal fans. They would choose to go to Universal over Disney most times. And they went for the first time, and they were extremely underwhelmed. They were saying, the lines were terrible, a lot of things were broken, there's no shade in the park, and they literally told me, wait. My recommendation is wait. Don't go to Epic yet. And so, as far as schooling Disney and theme park, I think that to a certain extent, what Universal has done is shown Disney we're still here, and we are a force to be reckoned with. But you still go to Magic Kingdom or Disneyland, and it's just not the same, right? From what I've heard, again, I haven't been to Epic yet, and I'm sure everyone has different experiences with Epic. But one thing I will say is I really want to visit Isle of Berk, especially after seeing this live action remake, because it is nearly flawless. But anyways, so Elio premiered worst opening weekend for any Pixar film. We can call it marketing. We can call it people are just kind of, over Disney animation right now. But I will say that Jared Bush, he is the chief creative officer of Disney. He was at the Annecy International Film Festival in France recently, and he had some things to say about Disney animation. Some things that, as a Disney film fan, we should get excited about. So, I'm going to paraphrase some of his quotes here. He said, Disney animation will continue to surprise. So, what does that mean? I don't know, but that's really exciting, right? Thinking that they have something up their sleeve that's going to surprise fans. Yes, I want to see that, yes. I mean, I feel like one of the few people who really, really liked Wish. So, but it wasn't surprising. I wouldn't say anything about it was surprising. So I'm curious what that means. He said that Zootopia 2, which is the next animation to come out, is going to push into a visual shift using a new Presto system. So if you don't know, the Presto system is some software designed and used by Pixar. It's Pixar's software. It's called Presto. I believe Presto is named after one of the Pixar shorts. But yeah, so they have a new version of this system, apparently, or something like that they're using, and they're pushing into a new visual shift, and Zootopia will be the first to really kind of showcase that. We haven't really seen a whole lot from Zootopia 2 to see what that exactly means. But again, I'm excited, I think it was Lou Mangello. I'm going to kind of date myself a little bit. Great Disney podcaster. If you're into Disney podcasts and you don't know who Lou Mangello is, he's one of the originals. He always says, the thing that excites me most about Disney is the thing I don't know about yet. And I'm going to echo that sentiment right here. Where if they're saying that Disney animation is going to start surprising us and that they're pushing a new visual shift, I want to know what that means. And that's getting me really excited. I wasn't excited to see Elio, and I didn't see it. But yeah, I'm ready for that. The other thing that he said, which is again is something that gets me really, really stoked, is he said, I love 2D animation. Right now we have 2D artists doing some bonkers amazing things. I'll leave it at that. That was his tease. So, guys, are we going to finally see a return to 2D animation? Is that the answer? Is that what's going to save Disney animation? And so when they say that they're going to, lean into Disney 2D animation, what they're talking about, for those of you who don't know what that means, they're talking about hand-drawn animation. So like stuff from like Walt's day, where everything was hand-drawn by extremely talented animators. And speaking of really extremely talented animators, guys, Ron Clements, they're bringing him out of retirement as a consultant. He's going to mentor young animators. If the name Ron Clements doesn't mean something to you, let me tell you who he is. He was one of the big driving forces behind the Disney Renaissance. So he directed The Little Mermaid, Aladdin, Hercules, guys. Like, those are some heavy hitters right there. He also directed The Princess and the Frog. He directed Moana, Great Mouse Detective. Just so many fantastic movies. And, he's a 2D guy. He did Moana, but, being the director of Little Mermaid, yes, that's the movie that kicked off the Disney Renaissance. And the fact that Disney is realizing, hey, let's bring this guy out of retirement to mentor these young artists. Again, what are they doing? I want to know. If I can go anywhere right now, I would go to Disney Animation Studios and just look behind the curtain, look on some of these animators' desks, and see, what are you drawing? The last 2D animation film that we got was Winnie the Pooh back in 2011. Let that sink in for a second. 2011. So the next film that we're going to get from Disney Animation Studios is slated for a release date of November 25th, 2026. They didn't say if it's going to be 2D animation or not, but they did say it's going to be an original story by a new filmmaker. Not saying who it is, not saying anything about the story. But again, if that doesn't get you excited for the future of Disney animation, I don't know what will. There we go. Sorry if that froze for you guys. They're getting the ball rolling with some really good things, right? A lot of great teases from Jared Bush. So, are you guys excited for some new 2D animation to be coming to our films, to our Disney films? Are you guys excited that Ron Clements is coming out of retirement to mentor and consult on these films? Let me know in the chat. I don't know if there's a pencil emoji, but you can drop that in the chat if you're excited for the return of 2D animation to Disney. Cheers to 2D animation, and I'm thrilled to hear that, says Tony. Yeah, me too. So, guys, we discussed so much news. We talked about the new parade coming to Walt Disney World, Magic Kingdom, Disney Starlight. We talked about Test Track. We talked about Disneyland 70th anniversary, and we talked about Disney Animation Studios and Pixar. What are you most excited about with all this new news coming out? Let me know. If you're watching this as a playback on YouTube or on Instagram as a reel, let me know in the comments below. What are you most excited about with all this new news? What is getting you stoked? As a Disney fan right now, there's a lot of great things happening. What are you most excited about? Let me know down in the chat. And if you're watching this as a replay, join the conversation. We had some great conversation with some awesome people in the chat today, and you could be one of those people next Monday, 8 p.m. Central Time on Instagram. Join me for MiM Mondays. Together we can make Mondays magical. And don't forget to check out the podcast. We are a Disney podcast. I put out episodes about every 2 weeks. There's a new podcast episode. It's on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, YouTube. The last episode just came out was about Disney vinyl record collecting, and it's a really cool one. I brought a good guest on my show. On the show, his name is Jake D from the Sippin' Mimos podcast. He's a very awesome dude who knows so much about vinyl collecting and music. So go listen to that episode if you haven't. And also, on that episode, you can hear the latest Hi Dad Soup song. That's our Disney cover band. We did a pop punk cover of Stand Out from a Goofy movie. You can hear it. You can hear it exclusively on that podcast episode. So go and listen to that wherever you listen to podcasts. And just thanks so much for supporting the show, for hanging out on MiM Mondays, for watching the playbacks, and for listening to the podcast. And I just, I'm very, very grateful for all of you guys for making Mickey Minutes so special, making it a community thing. So thanks so much for joining me today for this MiM Monday, this Mickey in Minutes live. And I will see you guys next time. Bye. Hey guys.